Hi, this is Hedrick Ellis. I just want to give you a quick video to give you an overview of implementing virtual reality across the curriculum. So here's a quick overview of the agenda of what I'd like to cover. First, I'm going to be talking about the importance of evangelizing for virtual reality. In other words, getting people excited about it. Just because you're excited doesn't necessarily mean other people are, so how to spread the word. And then we'll look at different categories of virtual reality. There are different types, whether you're trying to do things for practicing a skill or you're trying to get inside someone else's shoes, that kind of thing. Then I'll give you 5 concrete examples of virtual reality across the curriculum. Then I'll give you a little technical overview, some of the equipment that I've used and where the future is heading in terms of VR. And then finally, a little bit of a vision for the future of not only VR, but XR, the whole extended reality umbrella term. So the first thing I did that made a big difference in getting the word out about virtual reality at my school, I'm at a small liberal arts college of about 2,600 students, and the whole community used to meet about once a month. And it was a mixture of staff and faculty, mainly faculty. And you can always try to get on the program. And this is a really important thing to do for me because I got like 10 minutes in front of a lot of different faculty members. And I had sort of choreographed a whole presentation that showed different uses of VR and got some volunteers to get up on stage and try it out. And it was, lots of laughs and people were really engaged. So I highly recommend, if you have a chance to do something in front of a large audience, to give it a shot. And then I started to go into faculty meetings. So this was actually at a meeting of nursing faculty. I've probably gone to every major school, and they tend to meet once a month. They'll have their own department meeting. And if you just sort of plan ahead of time, say, hey, sometime this year I'd like to get on like maybe 10 or 15 minutes in your faculty meeting. So I gradually made my way through the different departments, showing them use cases. And this reminds me of a quote that you see here, talking about virtual reality is like dancing about architecture. And I think what the guy's trying to say is you can talk about it all you want, but you really... you've got to get them in the headset. You never, if you've ever done VR before, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's a paradigm shift once you're in there and you really experience it. So sooner you can get people trying it, the better. Then I started to actually go into classes. So I've been into many classes: engineering classes, business classes, art classes. Faculty love having somebody be a guest presenter. They don't have to prepare that day. So this is something that I've been doing every year. And it's also a great way, if you're in academic technology, to spend some time with the kids, which I don't always get as much time to do. So one of the questions is, okay, if you're introducing people to VR, what programs do you have them use? Oculus actually has a fun little experience called First Contact. As you see here, it looks kind of like a Wall-E character, and this gives people practice in how to use their hand controllers to grab things and move them around and so on. So I recommend that as a good introduction to VR for people. Then this is a longer term project, but then I created an XR lab. Found a space that actually was supposed to be a science lab but wasn't being used, in a new building. And then again, in the evangelizing mood, had an open house event, got a lot of people to come, serve food, that kind of thing. So this is an example. This is what the lab looks like. This is a biology class in there, actually. And they're using this thing called ShareCare, which I'll show you in a moment. So this year I organized something called XR Day. Another way to evangelize. I got some guest speakers, all of whom joined on Zoom. You'd be surprised. I got people from Harvard and MIT. You can get people to join. My 2 tips are, don't force them to come on campus, have it be Zoom. And the second is just ask them 6 weeks or more ahead of time, because if that's so far away, people will say yes. And once you get somebody with a good credibility, like this guy Chris Dede from Harvard, then you tell the next person, oh, would you like to be on a panel with Chris Dede of Harvard? And so it's a kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. And he's a very nice guy, too. So let's look at some categories of VR. This is from this book that I just showed you, Experience on Demand by Jeremy Bailenson, which is a great book overview. So one category is just having your worldview change. So like being in this computer-generated space that's can see things in a new way. Then this idea of walking in the shoes of another. There's lots of research around empathy and VR and experience what it could be, for someone who's blind or homeless. That's a different sort of category of VR. The idea of reverse field trips. Google Expeditions was a good example of this. Unfortunately, that's not being kind of built out anymore, but the idea of being able to go to almost anywhere in the world, or the reason they call it reverse, I guess they're bringing that place into your classroom through a VR experience. Practice Made Perfect is more along the lines of using it for things like athletics or even something like healthcare training. And then, the first 4 examples are all consuming VR, but I think it's important to always think of ways that students can actually build VR content, because that's really powerful. Getting them to be creative, whether it be computer science or art or different modalities like that. So let's look at examples of curriculum integration. This is in our science program, pathophysiology. They use a program called ShareCare, where you can actually go inside different organs and look at healthy organs and non-healthy organs. That's been used by a lot of students. This year, in our athletic training and exercise science, they started using a program called Organon. You can see here, you can choose different muscle areas and then manipulate a character and look at the motion. So ShareCare is better for organs, and Organon is good for muscles and skeletal things. So interior architecture is a natural fit. It's actually one of the fields that VR is used in a lot. So our students were making things in Revit, but there's a plugin from a company called Enscape allows you to export your files so you can actually do a walkthrough in VR. So this is a student, it's kind of tricky to see, but she is walking around and it's being projected so the whole class can see what she's seeing. And I'm just going to go through. These are students who responded. I don't have time to show the videos. So in education, there's an interesting program called Immersion, which is not your typical VR. But what's cool about it is students get practice teaching, and they have live students. It's actually some actor, maybe in California, who's voicing the avatars of these students. But it's very powerful because you're having, they misbehave, they do things, you get to practice things and then reflect. This is a great program which you can subscribe to. They also have versions of it for hospitality and retail. It's just good practice. In communications class, students were using a program called ThingLink VR. You might be familiar with ThingLink, but they were using 360 cameras to make 360 video. And this project is actually 360 stills for a museum that was actually very helpful to the museum during COVID when things were shut down. So this is the interface and how you could look at the different projects from the students. In athletics, this is a goaltender VR experience. You'd be interested to know that Stanford really started its VR in the athletics program, the football coach, and one thing led to another, and now they have a major VR lab. My favorite experience, I highly recommend if you teach history or interested in it all, called 1943 Berlin Blitz. It's free by the BBC. So just one thing about, how does this all connect to learning? You've probably seen this cone of learning before, but look at the bottom part. We remember 90% of what you are doing or experiencing, and that's what it feels like when you're in VR. You're really experiencing it. You're not, just passively listening or hearing. And there's this notion of embodied cognition, which I like, that if your whole body is involved in thinking and learning, you're moving your hands, you might be picking things up, that it sticks in your long-term memory more.